Hey guys, Amandu here and welcome back to my channel. It's been a while, I'm really sorry for that. So I thought I would come back with a little story time. I have a few other videos planned that I'm really excited to share, but I've been very slow on making them recently, so we'll have to stick to it. Basically, you already saw the thumbnail and the title, and this is a story about a college teacher that really hated my guts. Now, I know this is a very common topic for storytime videos, like everyone seems to have a teacher that hated them. In my life, I had two. One when I was in elementary school, and that was just mean, because why would you be cruel to a small girl with abandonment issues? I wouldn't know, but I mean, some people are just assholes. And then, when I was in college, now the thing you need to understand is that unlike a lot of those stories out there, my teacher didn't hate me because I did something to provoke it. I mean, I did, but I don't see it as something bad. In fact, I don't regret it, and I would do it again, no questions asked. What I mean is that I see a lot of those stories and they are like, oh well, I never did my homework and I always ignored the advice they gave me and I was always late to class because I hated the class, because I hated the teachers, so they hated me. Yeah, like I can see why people would hate you if you ignore their advice and if you refuse to learn and if you refuse everything they do. I can totally see that coming. I wouldn't be surprised if a teacher hated me for that. Hell, I would hate someone who was taking my class and doing that kind of crap. Anyway, but no, this teacher was completely different. I don't even remember her name. We'll just call her Mrs. Bubbles. So, it was my first year in college. I was, I believe, 18, 19 years old top. We were all young, impressionable teenagers getting into our first year of college, being completely scared, not knowing what was happening when this story took place. So where I went to college, my classes would divide themselves in semesters, and each semester you had a different class, and some classes were, you know, like linked, so you had to pass the first one in order to take the next one, things like that. On my very first semester, we had a typography class, and the teacher we had never showed up, like never showed up. I don't know, maybe she showed up like 5 times, and she would give us some things to read, and she would give us some vague homework, and then you do it, and you had a 10, so 10 being the maximum score, everyone passed that class. And I will say that it was our mistake collectively as a class, because we did put up a complaint against her with, you know, the principal and stuff. The thing is that my school was a public school, so teachers are very much allowed to do whatever they want as long as they are not like breaking anyone's rights or breaking like the college rules, so they can do pretty much whatever they want. They took a while to even take our complaint into consideration, and by the time they did, the semester was almost over, so they said like, oh well, we'll just give you a different teacher next semester. Okay. Maybe we should have pressed that issue. No, not maybe. We should have pressed that issue. We should have asked them to give us a new teacher and actually make sure that that semester was not a waste of everyone's time, because it was. I learned absolutely nothing that semester. So, you know, fast forward to my second semester in college, and we have the same class. It's now typography too, and we have a new teacher, and this new teacher is maybe around 26 years old. I mean, she's like a recent graduate and she's not over 30. She's really young and really inexperienced. This is her first time giving classes. And the first thing she does is actually get angry at us, at my entire class or what was left of it, for not, you know, studying by ourselves, you know, for not making sure that we covered what the teacher should have given us. And I kind of have to agree with the fact that we should have known better, but we were, you know, really stressed. We had another 10 classes that semester that we needed to keep up with, so not having one class was really nice. So of course none of us was really into kind of investigating. Plus we had like sort of the program, but it didn't have like any guidelines for us. You know, it's not like something you can just approach, especially when the interest clearly wasn't there, so yeah. Anyway, from that moment on, that lady really didn't like my class. She hated every one of us, but it was more of a passive hate. When she started hating me, that hatred actually became active, which even back then I knew I was being the mature one of us, but whatever. So, what happened? Basically, we had to go to these conferences, and these conferences were happening all around the city at different times. Now, mind you, I don't live in one of those college cities that, are really tiny and their economy is basically like formed around the college they have. No, I live in a big metropolitan city. Getting to some of those conferences was really complicated, and it would take a long time. A long time that we didn't have, because when I started college, my first year, I would go to class from 12:30 in the morning to approximately 10 p.m. That was my day because I needed to cover a certain amount of classes to keep moving on. So I had no time to go to these conferences unless they were happening in school grounds, which only like 2 of them were, and she demanded that we went to all of them if we wanted to pass the class. So I sent her an email because she gave us her email. I said, I think it's gonna be very hard for us to cover all of the conferences. Is there any way that we can just pick a few, or maybe like do a different work about them so that we don't have to, stop going to other classes and waste time on transportation and spend so much money just to go to all of these conferences? Are they like really that important that we cover them all? Now, I remember that the first email she sent back was very, like, low-key mean. Like, she was very... what is that called in English? She was very condescending, maybe? I don't know if that's what I want to say, but basically she said something like, well, if you don't care enough about your grades to go to those conferences, then maybe don't come back to me when you're failing this class. That got me really triggered because, woman, I care about my classes. I cared so much because it was a pain in the ass for me to get into college in the first place, so of course I cared. I replied, I do care about my classes. This is of course just the way I remember the text being. This is paraphrasing. I don't remember exactly what I wrote. I don't even have that email account anymore. But basically I said, you know what? I do care about my grades. I care very much. And that's why I'm asking you to somehow change this way you want to evaluate us, because it's impossible for all of us to go to all these classes. Not only because we have other classes at the time that most of these conferences are happening, but because a lot of us work in the mornings and, a lot of us have other important things to do that are, directly impacting our education, like, having a part-time job or maybe taking other classes. It's because I care to not fail those classes that I am not going to skip them just to go to these conferences for you. And boy, she was pissed at that. She was so incredibly angry. She actually started doing something she told us our first class that we shouldn't do, and that was she started writing to me in all capitals. I don't know if she was like drunk or what the hell happened, but this email was like an email, like a group email that she sent to everyone, and I started replying there. So everyone was getting these replies. It wasn't just me. Like, it's not like I came to class the next day and everyone was surprised that she hated me. No. Everyone knew what was going on. Actually, most of my class found it very funny. I didn't, but whatever. So she starts like text yelling at me that, oh, well, why are you such a smartass? Like, if you really don't care about this class, I don't care about other classes. I don't care about other teachers. This is my class and this is how we do things here. And I would appreciate if you were respectful enough to respect the way I give my classes and the way I decide to, something like the way she determined what we needed to. And I was just so done. I was like, you know what? First of all, don't write to me in all caps because you said that was rude, so it's okay for you to be rude to me. No. Second of all, please abstain. Please abstain from criticizing me because you don't know me. And I'm just saying this because it's important to me and because you are not being respectful of other teachers' classes. You don't care about these other classes. You're just saying it yourself. You don't care about my grades, so why should I care about your class when you clearly don't care about others? And I remember that at the moment, that's where that discussion stopped. Actually, some other people asked the same thing I did, and eventually we just had to go to 3 conferences or something like that, so we went, everything was fine. But she hated me from then on. Like, I don't know, maybe she felt like I humiliated her in front of the class. I don't see how asking, for something to be fair for everyone was humiliating her, because this was nothing personal. I couldn't care less about this woman. It's just funny to me looking back, because I started to notice she hated me when she started trying to take my grades down. We read this book and we had to give reports on it. One thing she probably didn't know, because a lot of my classmates were not very good at it, was that I am a very avid reader. I know how to read, okay? I know how to write a report about a book because I know how to pay attention to a book. And I know how to write properly. This was a shock to her because she couldn't find any reason to, deduct points from me from those essays, because I was one of the only people that was writing stuff that made any sense. And maybe it was immature from me to, enjoy seeing her give me, straight 10s with every exercise. I was really enjoying it, and I think everyone would tell. So probably that wasn't the smartest idea, but I was just a teenager. What was I supposed to do? Just let some 20-something woman bully me? I've been bullied my entire life. I didn't need this woman to bully me anymore. So she eventually tried to get her revenge in the very last exercise we had to do. So this last project was basically taking the crappiest magazine we could find and redesigning it completely. So I chose this anime magazine from like the late 90s that I had laying around my house for some reason. And I started, picking a little article from it. Then she grabbed it and she was like, oh, you know what? You're gonna do this article. And she picked the most horribly designed article you could ever think of. There were like 60 different pictures in the page, and the colors were horrible, and the font was like over an image that just had the opacity like slightly down, so you couldn't read the whole thing. It was horrible, it was hideous, and it was around 4 pages long, something like that, so it was going to take me a while. But you know what, I was not going to let this woman defeat me, so I did it. I did the complete article. And I did a very good job for someone only in their second semester, I must say. Especially because she demanded that we use the exact same amount of pictures in our article that were in the original one. So I had to figure a way to stuff around 60 pictures of some old anime into the same pages. And boy, I cried blood, like actual blood just came out of my eyes because I was so tired from the effort that this represented to me. But I finished the 4 pages. Were they perfect? No. Were they a great improvement over the original? Hell yes. Just even trying to figure out what the original said so I could copy the text was a huge effort. So, I was very proud. So I come to the classroom so she can, grade my project, and she gives me a 7. She gives me a 7. Like this woman decided to give me a 6 because why not? She hated me. Now, I didn't think my work was that bad, because when the guy that was next to me in line actually presented his work, it was terrible. He had to do a 4-page essay. He had only finished 1 of the pages. None of the images were the same. The text was barely there. Like, I printed it in color, I spent some good money printing it and looking with the colors I wanted it to have. This guy basically came in with a photocopy of whatever it is he designed. The crappiest printer in the world printed that work. And she gave him a 9. A 9! And I got a 6, so because of how she decided to evaluate us, and because she gave me a 6, I ended up having like a 7 for my overall class, average. And that really, really messed me up, because I had intentions to get a scholarship as soon as I could, and I needed my grades to be up. That's why I tried so hard, because I knew I needed the money, I knew I needed a scholarship, and this woman, with no other actual reason to do anything against me other than the fact that she was being immature and I decided not to stick to it, like actually just messed that up and decided to give me a bad grade just because she hated me. And oh, she knew I hated her too. I must say, I learned a lot from this woman because, like I said before, we learned nothing that first semester, and I learned a lot with her. I really think that I learned things that actually helped me in my professional development. But that doesn't remove the fact that this lady was so fed up about some 18-year-old stupid teenage girl in her class that took, like, you know, the chance to give her some commentary and ask her something in order to improve her evaluation and to improve, you know, that said professional development, that she felt humiliated and decided to spend an entire 6 months of her life just trying to mess up mine. Like, that's some actual commitment. Imagine if I actually hated this woman with, like, actual hatred, not like the kind of, well, this is unfair and I really sucks kind of hatred that I have for her, but that actual hatred. Like if I had accused her of harassing me, or if I had actually talked back to her the way that a lot of these story times go. Like, what would have happened to me if I had done that? I have no idea. Maybe she would have punched me, I don't know. You know, in retrospect, maybe I should have been the mature one, because clearly she wasn't, but you know, I don't regret complaining about what I saw as unfair, and I don't regret demanding that the things were fair for everyone, because I was not just thinking of me, I was thinking of everyone getting the classes they needed. I was thinking about my own interest, I was thinking about my average, I was thinking about the scholarship that not only me, but a lot of people in my classroom needed to get. And the price I paid for that was, you know, a 7 average. I don't know, but to me it just seems unfair. And if you're not mature enough to handle teenagers, especially teenagers in the kind of school that I went to, who are very encouraged to have liberal minds and speak up for what's unfair, then maybe you shouldn't teach. In the end, I got my scholarship, so not everything was bad, but you know, this woman, even after she stopped giving me classes, she still hated me and would still, like, shoot daggers with her eyes at me whenever we were in the same room, even though I don't think I ever talked to her again my entire 4.5 years that I, you know, kept studying. So I don't know what's up with that, but I mean, I would do it again. I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Like, comment, share and subscribe, ring the bell to get notifications, and stay creative. I will see you later. Bye guys!